A few days ago, I had a conversation with a friend, and one of the things we talked about was how they could get started with game development. I thought that was kind of a cool topic to make a video on, and the way I'll talk about it is what would I've done differently if I'd started over today, knowing everything I know and everything I've learned in the past year making games. The first thing I would focus on as kind of an overarching topic is to just spend less time in development. And the reason I would do that is so I could minimize risk. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Even if you've built products in other spaces before, Steam is kind of a unique market. You need to give yourself a little time to mess those up because you're going to mess them up. The way that you can do that as quickly as possible is to just spend less time in development. The next point that I'm going to bring up is that I would focus the majority of my effort on learning fast and also failing fast. Kind of accepting that your first game isn't going to be a hit, very likely won't be. And the best thing you can do is to keep that period of when you make mistakes as small as possible so that you can learn and make better games faster and ideally make more money faster than you would have if you spent 8 months, 7 months, 2 years making one single game. So now that we got that out of the way, we're talking about shorter games. What kind of game would I have made? Would I still have made a vehicle combat game? Maybe. I think if I had enough focus to begin with when I was working on my first game, Trace Hunters, I could have probably made that game in 4 months instead of spending 7. Granted, sometime in that 7 months were out of my control and I actually couldn't work on the game. So when something takes you out, and it probably will, especially over a longer period of time, expect that to happen and try to keep the dev time short. Which genre would I have focused on? I think I might have done vehicle combat. I might have picked a different genre. I think one of the biggest things I would have done is not really worry about it so much and focus on learning the ins and outs of how to actually release a game. Very few people that go into game dev actually do that. And so going through that quick launch process, you're going to learn a whole lot. A couple genres I might have looked at, possibly the roguelike genre. It's pretty flooded right now. 2D platformer I would not have considered. I think even for a short-term game, that's not a good choice because it's almost impossible to make sales. Vehicle combat, I may have still done that. I may have jumped straight to like a horror game. Focusing on making like a streamer bait game or a rage game could be interesting because it would force you to do a lot of that cold email, a lot of that cold outreach to get content creators to play that game because that's kind of how they take off. Above it all, if we're assuming we're going to make a small game, I would more lean toward picking a genre that interests you because that can keep you motivated during that first game when you're struggling with a bunch of other stuff. More so than making a game that you think is the absolute most market viable game you could produce. Again, going back to the first game probably won't succeed. So let's learn as much as possible, let's fail as fast as possible, and get on to game number 2 that might have a better chance of success. One last thing I would say about genre, it's more about game choice and game mechanic, is I would definitely not make a multiplayer game. So I started out making a multiplayer game with Trace Hunters. Even though I have a lot of background in distributed systems and networking and a lot of other infrastructure type stuff that helped me make multiplayer a little bit more easily, I wouldn't recommend anyone do that even if you have a background in that, if it's your first game, because it takes more time. So you can reduce your risk on your first game by not doing multiplayer. And again, keeping that development window very short so that you learn as fast as possible. One final note that my friend and I talked about that I thought was really important, give yourself some space to just play in the editor, play in your engine, do something you think is cool, allow yourself to do that instead of hardcore going at it every day. As you're playing in the editor, you're having a little fun with that. You may find something that's really cool and you think could be a great mechanic to just motivate your entire game and build your game around that mechanic. If you like this video and you like these kind of topics, I do these 2 times per week on my channel. So give me a like, hit that subscribe button to make me happy. I like seeing number go up, and I'll see you next time.